The human mind reveals its true nature under pressure, not in comfort, not in safety, but in moments when stress removes all illusion. For most people, pressure feels like a threat. For soldiers, pressure feels like a signal. And that single difference decides who collapses and who moves forward. It was early morning in 2016 during a large-scale joint training exercise in the American Southwest. The scenario was simple on paper: a simulated attack. Smoke, noise, confusion. Civilian observers were standing nearby to watch how military units reacted under stress. When the alarm suddenly screamed to life, chaos followed instantly. People shouted questions. Some ran without direction. Others froze, waiting for instructions that never came. The mind tried to process everything at once and failed. But inside the training zone, soldiers reacted differently. They didn't rush, they didn't panic. Their movements slowed instead of speeding up. It looked almost unnatural, not because they felt less fear, but because fear no longer controlled them. The civilian mindset is shaped by comfort and predictability. Daily life trains the brain to expect clarity, clear rules, clear outcomes, clear choices. So when unpredictability appears, the civilian mind searches for safety. It asks questions, it hesitates, it wants reassurance. The military mindset is shaped by uncertainty. From the first day of training, soldiers are placed inside discomfort, cold, fatigue, noise, confusion. They are not trained to avoid stress. They are trained to operate inside it. When pressure hits, civilians look outward. Soldiers look inward. Inside the brain, stress triggers an ancient system. Adrenaline surges, heart rate spikes, vision narrows. For civilians, this chemical storm feels overwhelming. Thoughts race. Emotion leads action. For soldiers, that same storm has been normalized through repetition. Stress does not mean danger. It means focus. Military psychologists discovered something critical over decades of observation. The brain does not fear stress itself. It fears unfamiliar stress. Expose the brain repeatedly to controlled pressure, and the response changes. Fear becomes information. There is a moment before panic takes control. A narrow window most people never notice. Breathing shortens. Muscles tighten. Thoughts begin to spiral. Civilians miss this moment. By the time they notice, panic has already taken the wheel. Soldiers are trained to recognize it instantly, not as danger, but as a cue, a signal that the mind must shift. This is where the military mindset separates itself completely. During a nighttime patrol exercise, a young infantryman once described hearing sudden simulated gunfire erupt from multiple directions. The sound was overwhelming. Smoke reduced visibility to almost nothing. For a split second, his body reacted like any human body would. Heart racing, adrenaline flooding. But then training took over. He didn't ask what was happening. He didn't wait for clarity. He focused on one thing, his next step, then the next, and then the next. Later, he said something simple but revealing. I wasn't calm because it was safe. I was calm because I knew what to do. That sentence defines the military mindset. Civilians often believe soldiers are fearless. They are not. Soldiers feel fear just as intensely. The difference is timing. Civilians experience fear first and think later. Soldiers think first and allow fear to follow without control. Military training forces action to lead emotion, not the other way around. When emotion leads, judgment collapses. When action leads, emotion stabilizes. The civilian mind focuses on outcomes. What if this fails? What if I make the wrong choice? What if something goes wrong? The military mind focuses on process. What is my position? What is my role? What is the next controllable action? By shrinking attention, soldiers prevent overload. Chaos becomes manageable because it is broken into pieces. A former officer once described watching a civilian freeze during a simulated emergency. The person wasn't weak. They weren't unprepared. Their mind simply tried to process too much at once. Meanwhile, soldiers nearby were already moving, communicating, adjusting, not because they understood everything, but because they accepted they never would. That acceptance removes panic. At the neurological level, this difference is visible. Civilian brains remain dominated by the amygdala, the fear center. Soldier brains activate the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for reasoning and control. Breathing slows, heart rate stabilizes, clarity returns. Calm does not come from courage, it comes from conditioning. In everyday life, pressure rarely looks like combat, but the mind does not know the difference. Deadlines trigger the same chemistry. Arguments create the same surge. Unexpected problems produce the same internal chaos. This is why civilians panic in boardrooms the same way others panic on battlefields. The military mindset can exist anywhere. Slow the breath, reduce attention, control the next action. Pressure loses power when response is controlled. The military does not train soldiers to eliminate fear. That would be impossible. They train them to coexist with it. Fear becomes a background signal, not a command. And this is why, under pressure, one mindset collapses, while the other performs. Pressure does not create weakness. It reveals training. The civilian mindset avoids stress. The military mindset is forged inside it. And when pressure finally arrives, only one knows how to stay standing. This difference is not talent, not genetics, not bravery. It is conditioning. And beneath this conditioning lies an even deeper system, used only by elite units, that rewires fear before it even forms. That story comes next.